White background.
Hey guys,
Hi.
how's it going?
Good.
I missed your faces.
I missed your face.
Hey. I missed y'all too. My microphone's being weird.
What are you being weird about, dude?
It's turning or it's not tight. Ooh, why is it so loose?
You know, that's a good sound. You messing with your mic?
Sorry.
I'm really
Sorry for all.
enjoying that.
Sorry, I know.
I'm really enjoying that. How did your mic get that way?
I don't know. I haven't used it, so last time I used it was with y'all. Okay, hopefully it won't flip out again.
You think that the cleaning ladies that came in twisted
How do
your
y'all
mics?
do your mics? What's your thing? Some of y'all like hold it like way up here, don't you? Like
I don't
Tim,
hold my
you got
mic.
yours. You got yours up high.
Yeah, I don't know what I do.
Well, the key is you don't want the mic to cover your face because we're doing video.
Okay, I just kind of always.
Angle it up towards your mouth.
Mm.
A little bit lower.
Mm.
There. Okay, now talk.
Yep. So does that? I mean, because some people have it up high, some people have it down low. I just didn't know if there was like a proper way.
No,
to
there
do
is
it.
no proper way. The only proper way is
No.
don't cover your face.
Yeah.
Unless you're just doing like radio or podcast without
Don't
video.
want to cover this beautiful face of mine. Hey, you like my shirt?
Oh, is that from your friend?
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. It's that dark cycle, people.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not friends.
They're not friends. They're competition.
Don't promote
Kind of.
them. What'd you even
Yeah.
say their name
Shoot.
for?
I didn't say their name. Did I say their name? No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
you did. Yeah,
Nobody
you did.
knows. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows it was
Nobody
called
knows.
Dark
Nobody
Cycle.
knows. Nobody knows.
Josh. Josh.
Wait, so Tim, are you in a new play?
I am.
Are you? Is it Beauty and the Beast, and you're Cogsworth?
I am Cogsworth.
That's right. Tim, can you
In the
mic up a
new-
little bit?
That
Turn your
makes
gain
me-
up.
Yeah,
that-
I am Cogsworth.
That makes me very happy. That makes me very happy.
It's gonna be good. Can you hear me
Well,
better?
Yeah, because
Yeah, that's good.
It's gonna be good. Yeah, I have to take on the that kind of guy.
I'm sure you already have.
No.
Oh, yes. Can you run
That's
some
right,
lines
now-
with us?
I'd have to go get my script. A lot of it's just me going, I'm in charge here. And then not being in charge.
Yeah, that's true. So is Cogsworth? Is he French?
No, I'd say he's more British.
Yeah, more of a British gentleman.
He's more of a British.
Are you gonna have to?
Oh.
Are you gonna have to do that?
Yes. I'm
You have
working
to-
on my British.
Oh man,
Josh, Tim is an
I'm sure
actor.
that's-
Yes, he's got
I
to do
know.
that.
I'm
Come on.
sure he's really, and you're good at it too.
You
I
know,
would have a hard time Well, I don't know.
a lot
I
of
had a
it's
script.
fun because I'm with that Lumiere dude, and he's like always,
How's
bothering me.
How's he?
Oh, yeah,
how's the
he's-
actor for that?
Yeah, they're both great. They have two Lumieres.
Is there supposed to be two?
Well,
One
no,
sings.
but they have like backup plans just in case. They don't do that for me, but my availability was really good. So
Hey,
So you're gonna
Josh,
have to sing in a British accent.
no, well, I do have a song, and I will take on certain characteristics of it. Yes, I go. When I'm human again, only human again, when the world once more starts making sense, I'll unwind for a change. And then Lumiere goes, really, that would be strange. Can I help it if I'm tense? In a shack by the sea, I'll sit back sipping tea, let my early retirement commence. Far from fools made of wax, I'll get down to brass tacks and relax. When I'm human again. That'll be my song.
Okay, I'm sold. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's what
So
the kids say.
that would be very very hard for Lumiere because he has to sing in a French accent.
Right? Yeah.
Is he like? Has he
Well,
done
they
that
got
before,
it.
or is this like brand
Well,
new to him?
No, these guys that they picked are both killing it in that sense of the word. When I auditioned, they had me read as Lumiere real quick, and I was like halfway French, half Hispanic. I don't know what I was. But it's kind of hard to keep. Friends.
My accent's always turned into Russian at some point.
Yeah,
every time.
It's hard, especially that one. You have to keep your. You've got to keep the way you do it. And then I go Hispanic. I start to sound like Adam Sandler.
Hey, so speaking of that real quick about accents and stuff, I don't know why I do this, but I noticed that I did this the other day. So my son's girlfriend is half Swedish, half American. Her father is full Swede. Her mother is American. So her grandparents on her father's side came into town for their graduation. Her and my son just graduated from high school. So they come in, and we have them over for dinner. I was like, oh, my gosh, it'd be lovely to have these people over and meet them and just kind of talk to them about their culture. Mm-hmm. So they come in, and they have such strong Swedish accents, which is actually a very nice, pleasant accent to listen to. So they have these great accents, and then every once in a while, because the grandparents they spoke English, but it wasn't really fluid, so they'd kind of go into their Swedish dialect here and there. And then when they would kind of look at me and ask me something, I would go, sí, Spanish. I would go immediately to Spanish. But I do it. It doesn't matter what nationality it is. I think that I'm somehow being, I don't know, international.
Yeah.
By saying any word in
Sí.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Where for those of you who don't know, Todd and I work together at a shop, and we work with Hispanic ladies, and so it's just kind of automatic for us.
Right.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
See.
I mean, just see.
See.
Yeah. See.
Wow.
And fortunately, I don't think they picked up on it. Like, why are you saying Spanish?
They're just being nice to you.
Yeah, they were just being nice. Anyways. So I just thought that was funny when we talk about accents, how I just immediately go to that every time.
What's yes in Swedish? In Swede.
I don't know. I don't know, but one of my most favorite movies is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Both the old school series and then the new one that David Fincher did. The first one that David Fincher did. And I love that accent. I love that. I don't know. It's just such a cool accent. So I love that movie primarily because of the accent. I mean, it's a good storyline too.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen that. I like to go back to it.
Revenge.
Need to do that.
But that scene though, in both films, but that scene where she gets basically raped, dude, that's so hard to watch, man. Like, I find myself now, because I love the movie so much, I find myself now, like when I put it on, I'll skip through that scene, just because it's like, I like the movie, but I mean the scene's good for what it is, but it's tough to watch.
Well, that's an interesting debate too. It arose during Game of Thrones when there was a rape scene between a brother and sister, Cersei and the guy's name. Anyway,
Nerd.
But it was a big deal, and it came out, and it's a big debate started where it's like, should we be showing rape scenes in movies? Like, are we trying to be too realistic that are we kind of doing a disservice?
Sure. I mean, I can understand the argument there. Can you leave some of it up to imagination? Absolutely, you can. But in some of these cases, like when you have a director like David Fincher who loves to portray this dark, seedy type of life, but really make you feel it. I mean, even with color tone, really make you feel it. Like he had a conversation with Rooney Mara, who plays the girl with the dragon tattoo. Plays I can't remember her name in the movie, but anyways, he had a conversation with her prior to her even getting the role. He said, "This will change your life. People will look at you differently, and this is going to be a tough scene to play." And she was like, "Yeah, this is what I want to do." But I love how he numerous times, from my understanding, he would go up to her and say, "I don't know if this is right for you," because he had her in the Facebook story. What was that called?
Social Network.
Social Network. He had her in there as a small part as Eisenberg's wife.
That's right.
Our
He did
girlfriend.
that
I'm
movie.
sorry.
Forgot that.
at the very beginning. So he was familiar with her, but didn't really know her too well. So when he was casting for this, she really wanted the role. And he was just like, I don't think you do. I don't think you understand what this is. And then when you watch it, you go, oh, whoa. But back to what you were saying, I think if you want to understand maybe what women go through in that particular situation, that puts you in that situation. I mean, other than going through it, obviously it's got to be totally different, but it puts you pretty darn close to what that must have felt like, from emotion to fear to pain, physical pain. Man, it was... So I don't know. I would lean towards... I think there's opportunities where it can be suggestive, but I think in situations like this, I think showing it just makes you feel the character, and that's the point of acting, right? Clearly, in the film, I don't think there's intercourse actually. I don't know for certain, but I would assume that there's not. So there's some level of safety there in it, but man, intense. So I would say although I skipped through that part now, when I initially watched it, it put me in that moment with her and possibly with other victims that would be in a situation like that. So I don't know. I think that's kind of what film is for. That's why I enjoy film, to feel that character.
I guess the danger would be if you were a rapist and you watch the scene, you'd probably go, man, I'm going to go rape a woman now. Or feel like, I think that brings me back to when I used to rape women,
Yeah, right.
Who knows?
Well, no, because if you think about that, way before film, I mean, even when you could say in the depiction in literature of rape, people raped. I mean, people raped before.
It was a thing.
It's just what people
Humans
did.
Are dirtbags.
It's what they do. Other. Yeah, I mean, just awful people that do certain things like that. And I don't think film... I mean, I think film can inspire. I think literature can inspire. I think the act of anything can inspire. You have a friend who goes around and you're like, oh man, he seems like a really cool guy. Oh, he's a rapist? Maybe I want to be a rapist too. I don't know. I think it's built into certain people that really have no morals or compassion or empathy built in. I think they lack it. So when they do that to somebody...
There's a lot of sociopaths out there.
Oh my God, there are a lot of them, dude.
The lack of empathy.
But if you think about it, I mean, with 8 billion people on this planet, I would say mostly we're good. Mostly we're good people, But there are a good amount that are pretty awful. I watch a lot of murder, crime, true crime things, and it's amazing how they're not telling the same stories. They're all new stories, man. It's just like... Holy shit, yeah. So if you pay attention to that and you go, man, yeah, this world is dark, this world is evil, but you can't do that. I mean, it's truly a small portion in comparison to the rest of us that are out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Side note.
Yeah, what was your side note?
That was it.
Oh, yeah, that was a side note.
Josh,
did you bring ice cream for the whole class or no? Because I tell you what, I'm really enjoying you chewing in that microphone. I'm glad we got that all set up for you. So you could chew right in it.
Yeah.
Cookie dough and hot fudge. Concrete mixer from Culver's.
Can't go wrong, man. Can't go wrong with some ice cream. I love just straight up vanilla, dude. I just like
a bowl of hot fudge.
I bet you do. My son came
peanut
home.
Buster parfait from Dairy Queen.
And brought Breyer's soft and creamy vanilla. Dude, fire. So good.
Favorite ice cream, you two?
I think so, man. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
Just vanilla?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'll get
There's
stuff
so
with
much
stuff
you can
in it,
do
but I
with
end up
vanilla.
picking around just eating the vanilla.
I'm cookie dough.
Well, because that stuff gets old after, well, like if you get a little quart of cookie dough or Reese's Pieces or whatever, like after so much, it's like, I just want ice cream. I don't want all these...
Oh my gosh. I get the little tubs of cookie dough, the edible cookie dough now. Not that like normal cookie dough would chase me away. I eat that too. But they actually have edible cookie dough in the freezer.
Remember the old saying that it would give you worms? You don't remember that?
I mean,
my would always say that, like when I would go to like get the bowl and eat the cookie dough. Don't
She
do
probably
that.
just didn't want you eating it.
That's exactly what I think it was.
I'm so sorry.
You're gonna get
wow.
worms.
No, my
I
mom
can't
never
wait to
told me
get to
that.
heaven and have a conversation with her about that. Remember that whole cookie dough thing?
That's all I want to talk to your mom
That's
about.
all I wanna
now,
talk
too.
to you
And
about.
it's egg, right? It's
I think
the
it's
raw
the
egg.
Yeah, I think it's the raw egg, not cooked. I think that's the whole thing. And maybe
Get
there's some
this,
truth to it. Like if you eat too much.
Salmonella.
Salmonella.
So today, I wanted to chat with you guys about something. I want to talk a little bit more about near-death experiences. But Timmy has been telling us about this video of a guy saying something, and he sent it to me finally, and I watched it. And it's basically about it's basically about the reincarnation trap, right? Because after you sent that to me, I went on a little rabbit trail, like looking at other videos.
There's a lot.
There's a lot, man. And so this is kind of, other than you telling me this, and I'm always diving into a lot of this weird stuff too, I had never actually heard of this, like the reincarnation trap. It's kind of a new theory to me. And I think kind of to you too, Tim, right? Like other
Yeah,
than
I was
seeing
like,
it.
what?
Yeah,
No
like this
way.
is kind of, and
That's
so
a
when I
weird-
started finding other things about it, I was like, wait a minute. This is a thing? Like this isn't just some random guy saying it?
Well, but it's almost the thing that makes it kind of creepy, in my opinion, is that it's a thing, and it's coming from like apparently coming up from high up in the food chain, like people who
The
would
elite.
know,
right?
Yeah, people who would know.
Yeah.
There have been whistleblowers and stuff about it. That worked in the government and worked in high up in the CIA and FBI, and they're like, yeah, no, this exists. And you're
So-
like, what?
Right. So when you hear it and you hear it explained, it doesn't seem any far-fetched than any other belief. Like it doesn't seem like, oh, there's no way. Right? If you believe in anything outside of the normal, this does not seem far-fetched. Like I heard this and went, okay, that's a viable theory. Very odd. So I got a clip of it, and I want to see if this is going to play for us.
Yeah. By the way, the other thing you can look up is that we're a prison planet, which is interesting.
So that's part of this.
To souls, to people who are still souls,
I've heard that.
and
So let's-
multi-dimensional beings, we are a prison planet.
Yeah, so let's play this, and then I do want to dive into all of that, because this kind of spawns off onto some other things.
Yeah, it's creepy. Yeah,
It's a
very
beautiful
creepy.
prison.
it's a great prison.
We have a beautiful
But
prison.
the problem is it's flawed. It's gnashing of weeping and gnashing of teeth as well. It's war and heartbroken.
So Earth
and-
is hell.
Yeah, well,
Which I have heard.
Yes, dude, that's what they're
in
saying.
an
It's-
essence,
Yeah,
like
I
that's
have
the
heard- I
theory.
have
Because there was another
Although-
video. There was another video that I watched, and that's basically what it is. So let's get into this. Let's watch this video, so it kind of gives all of us an understanding, and all of you out there who haven't heard this theory, an understanding of what this is, and then we'll kind of dive into it and just pick it apart, because there is a theory there that this is actual hell. This is what they mean by hell, Earth. So let's give this thing a play.
I'm not a New Ageist. Some of the stuff from the New Ages actually I'm quite good about and I think makes sense, but a lot of it isn't. And when you die, i.e. your physical body ceases to exist, your soul doesn't go back to source. It wants to, gets caught in that grid. It is struck with a huge amount of electromagnetic energy, which makes you forget, and then your soul, for want of a better word, I use the word soul, is put back into another body. And only sometimes when the process fails do you have what we call memories of past lives. Time and time and time again, souls are recycled on this planet. That's why that guy there stands there with a sword, because that's their domain. You're not getting out. That's a prison. This is a prison planet, and that's what's going on. And that's why on the Black Ops badge it's exactly the same. It has a grid around it. It's my contention that humanity has been on this planet a very long time, but at some point the DNA was completely tampered with to dumb you all down, to reduce your DNA strands down to 2, to take away your ability to be telepathic, so that you can't challenge the prison guards. If I was a being that could, I use the word feed, if I could feed on energy, how wonderful to have billions of people, or being angry, having sex, enjoying football, and producing all that energy that I can then identify, hook onto, and survive on. I don't want you all going. If you go back to source, you'll think, I'm not going back to that place. That's a horrible place. It's horrible. Who would want to be here? So what we'll do is we'll put this energetic grid around the earth. Any soul that comes out, we'll see, let's go to Hollywood now. Look for the white light. Oh, I had a near-death experience, and I saw the white light at the end of the corridor. Don't do it. That is the trap. Walk away from the white light. That is what you've been indoctrinated with. The white light is the trap. You go to the white light, you are zapped, your memory is partially removed, not always fully, but partially removed, and you return to another body. And, you've forgotten nearly everything, unless you're lucky enough to have a past life memory. What can you do about it? You have to evolve spiritually. You have to not accept the people who run the world as it stands, because they know the truth, and they're doing very nicely on it. I don't know how long it will take, but it's an injustice on humanity. And really and truly, knowledge is power. And I think that you have just got to evolve to a point where you just say no.
There it is. There it is.
There's another one that I could probably find too. The guy says he says, no, people go to the source, and but they never turn around to see the universe. And then that's where he says, like, we're in his opinion, we're multidimensional beings. You turn around and you could look at the universe instead and say, I wish to go home, and you'll be swiftly brought to that dimension from which you came, I guess. Which this is all crazy to me. I don't know what to think of it, but I do think it's an interesting theory that's coming up more and more, and it has a lot to do with the argument of near-death experiences too, which,
Yeah, I
So
mean,
who are these swordsmen? Who are these prison
Well,
guards?
he was saying. I think he was talking about black op badges and different degrees of military and industrial complexes and stuff.
So humans, like non-spiritual humans, are the ones who are
and no.
holding us.
Yes and no. So I watched another video about this too, where they talked about it, and apparently this all comes from a book written by some lady, and I can't recall what it is, but I'm sure if you guys Google it, you'll be able to find it. I think that's where this theory originated from. So apparently, this goes deeper into like spirit, and how also the talk of like aliens are actually interdimensional beings that are actually spiritual type beings as well. So with that being said, they're the ones who continuously cycle our souls back down to earth so they can keep us here and then feed off the energy to, I guess, I don't know.
This is kind of a almost Scientology sounding thing.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing, is it's not any crazier than, all the other stories that we see in the Bible. Like, it's crazy, and it's hard to fathom, but so is a lot of the other stuff, right? Like, who was it? Who was it? Was it Inky? Who am I thinking of that went up in the spaceship from the mountaintop?
Well, Moses would have.
But it was before Moses.
Kind of.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was
like an Egyptian guy?
No.
Enoch?
Enoch, thank you. Yeah, Enoch. So Enoch, right? So Enoch goes up the top of this mountain and basically goes and travels all throughout space and then is, taken up into the heavens, basically. Like, that's a crazy story.
Yeah, it's Enoch is an interesting tale. In the Bible, it says that he was so loved by God, he never dies. Like, it was taken.
Yeah, he just ascends and he doesn't die.
He just leaves. Yeah,
Like Elijah.
Yeah, like an Elijah or I believe Elisha too, right? And both.
I guess they both did, didn't they?
A few of them. Yeah, there's a few of them where they're just whisked away. They never die. It's like, wow, that'd be crazy.
But we know that the Bible was written in a story format. Like, you don't take it literally.
Well, I think that's to question, right? Like,
I mean, it's literature. It's history, but it's also literature.
but it's just all of the Bible is it's verbal stories passed down thousands and thousands of
Around a
years.
Campfire
Around a campfire.
for a long time.
That at some point somebody said, write that down.
Moses wrote the first 5
it
books.
still survives to today. Like, we're not talking about one person wrote this stuff down. We talk about thousands of people wrote this stuff down.
Here's the thing we have to think about, too, when we think about the Judeo-Christian Bible, is that a lot of it, too, has been borrowed from Sumerian text, right? So that predates Moses. That predates all that other stuff. So when you look at the flood story, that's in Sumerian text. It doesn't mention Moses. It's a totally different character. There's birth to a virgin giving birth to a child. Has nothing to do with Jesus. So there's a bunch of these stories that are in there. I mean, they have the 12 apostles, right, are basically in the Sumerian text as well. Totally different people.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Right,
this has been brought up a few times. I think Bill Maher's favorite thing is on HBO. He always brings this up from time to time.
Right. So
but I know he did in his movie Religiosity or something like that, where they really kind of go in and say, look, how can you say this is all just Jesus when it's been said before,
right,
or documented before by another ancient culture? It's like, wow, that's weird. I didn't even know that was a thing until I saw that movie, and I was like, that is pretty weird.
I mean, it's definitely weird. So when you think about that, you go, okay, well, how old are these actual stories? And I'm a firm believer in, and I do like anybody else and everything else, I could be entirely wrong.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's
just fun. But I'm a firm believer in that humans have existed for, who knows? Who knows how many years, right? We want to say that the new Homo sapiens, such as us, have been around for a couple 100,000 years. But were we around before then? Did we have great civilizations before then? Does a catastrophic event happen and wipe us out except for a few, and then we bounce back? Do we destroy ourselves and then we bounce back? I mean, think about it. If we had a huge nuclear fallout right now, and it hit every nation, there'd be survivors because we'd go underground. But then at some point, we would
seen Fallout.
Well, right, but at some point, exactly. At some point, we'd come up, and things would start to deteriorate. Right? Like, I wouldn't know how to build a computer or anything like that, so I'd be telling stories about computers. I'd be telling stories about videos. I'd be telling stories about how humans used to fly. And all the kids would sit around and listen to old man Todd talk about the flying machines again. Right?
Yep.
And it'd be fascinating to them. And then they would tell those stories, and they would tell those stories, and they would morph, and they would change, and they would get a little more bizarre. And then at some point, when we kind of discovered maybe a new form of writing or putting this information down, somebody would write it down. And then a couple hundred years from then, somebody would read it and go, what the hell is this? This is fascinating. This is godlike things.
Yeah. There's a movie, I want to say, with Christian Bale and his dad. Oh no, it's Christian Bale and all right, Matthew McConaughey.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he's in it. Reign of Fire. Have you heard about it?
Yeah, it's like a medieval,
it's a
right?
dragon.
Yeah.
Well, it's a modern day story of what would happen if we found a dragon or a den of dragons, and they all escape and just ruin London and take over the world again. And what's funny about that, or why I'm even bringing it up, is that there's a scene where I think it's Matthew McConaughey's character and Christian Bale, they're recapping what they could remember of Star Wars to the kids, right? And so, but they take credit for the story, of course, like they wrote it.
Right.
But it was really just them telling a tale to the kids in the bunker, about the dark side, and the Darth Vader was this father of the guy, and think about that, like that you go back to what Josh was saying at the beginning here, where it's like all narrative, right? It's all story, and yeah, what did people go? Wow, that probably really happened, and what people passed along as truth and passed along as more than just narrative, when it really was just a story potentially, right?
Oh yeah. Well, then you think on top of that too, Tim, like the hope that would give people, right, is like life is very hard now and all this kind of stuff. The hope that you would give them one day, it'll be a lot better. If you follow these rules that I have laid out for you, it's going to get better. We got to stop.
Well, and I don't necessarily think, I think the confusion with that real quick, people often say that, oh, well, if you follow the rules, you get to heaven, that kind of thing. Sure.
No, it's not a heaven thing. It's not a heaven thing. It's just a better life thing, right? Like if
but I mean,
think about that time you're going to be fighting over food and resources and all that kind of stuff. And then there's going to be this theory that comes around going, well, back in the day, we used to all get along for the most part. We used to work together for the most part. Right. So that's what I mean. Is like it'll get better if you follow these rules, right? Be kind to each other.
Because we knew these rules. We knew these rules back then. I get you.
Right. So these rules, I think they're not new, man. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Sumerian text is just a copy of something even before then, right? Like they found something when they were digging, and they were like, "Oh man, these are actually look at these stories."
Well, I mean, isn't the Sumerian if you read the true Sumerian text? Or at least as far as I'm concerned, what the History Channel and Ancient Alien shows try to do, they recap the Sumerian text as best they can. And it's actually quite different than any of that. I think it's a bunch of beings that brought us here to mine gold, right?
Right, yeah.
Mass produced us because they were sick of mining the gold.
And that's Zachary Stitchin's kind of take on it there initially when he transcribed it.
But if he's somewhat right, and there really was not just one atom, but multiple atomas and evas and all that.
That was man and woman is what it meant.
And man and woman, and that we were really just a big slave race. Don't you think that the beings that are there guiding us would also have told us the laws of us being nice to each other, kind of thing, so that they could keep or maintain order?
Well, they probably maintain order out of fear and dominance. I mean, if any of this holds any weight in truth, I mean, these were giant beings. The Anunnaki were like these 12 to 15 foot beings. I mean, that were just huge, that would hold a lion and be like the size of a kitty cat. Right. So I think we were just like, oh, yeah, okay.
I like that you said kitty cat.
A kitty cat. Well, when you say kitty cat, it makes it seem even smaller.
A little kitty cat.
Right? It's a little baby kitty cat.
Yeah, apparently Indians used to talk of men who could grab a buffalo by
well, that's
by
the
hand.
giants of North America.
New Mexico.
Yeah. What do they call them? They called them something. The red-headed giants. They were redheads.
Yeah, they had red hair and gray skin.
We've talked about that.
Mm-hmm. There was a
previous episode.
There was supposedly a story that happened in Afghanistan, and there's artistic drawings of a firefight between one of these red-headed Viking-y looking guys with 6 fingers and 6 toes up in the mountains of Afghanistan, and it took a bunch of our special forces out. It even took them out with all their weaponry, and it was like hard to fight. And finally, they kill him, and they put him on a pallet, this huge thing. And so there's a few artist renderings of. Because nobody would have been allowed to take a photo for sure. You would have been immediately thrown in some sort of imprisonment.
But there were there were a few soldiers that actually came out and said that they were witness of it.
And they would like comparing their feet with their boot and stuff and going, wow, this is crazy.
I mean, think about this. Like, here's a great example. If you think about like I'm 5'4", so small stature. But, a little stocky, but still small stature. So you take 5'4", put me next to like a Shaquille O'Neal, right? Yeah. This dude's almost 8 foot, if I'm correct, right? Shaquille O'Neal.
Right. He's big.
So everything is
heavy.
bigger. His
Heavy.
arms are 4 times the size of mine. His neck, like everything is bigger. Now multiply that to 15 feet high,
Yeah.
right? Like in comparison, these guys are huge. Like my
Apparently,
waist.
they also ate us too. Like they were real.
Yeah, I
they
did
weren't
hear that
afraid
as
to
well.
just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna eat that thing." I'm
Crazy.
hungry.
So let's get back to the reincarnation trap.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Josh?
About what the guy said?
Well, I mean, the reincarnation trap. So let me kind of...
I'm not familiar with the reincarnation
So
trap.
that's what the guy was just talking about. So let me kind of break it down for you and for our listeners as well. So reincarnation trap is saying that when we die, we've been lied to that when they say go to the light, because we've always been told that when you go to the light, you will pass over into heaven. And that's where the true goal is, to be into heaven, right? That is actually a lie, saying that when we go up, when our souls rise from earth, we get trapped in this grid, this matrix of a sort that's surrounding the earth, and that we're met there by an entity that takes the form of multiple
and
things.
says he's the source. He
Well,
says
but
he's
it could
the
say
source.
it's a source. It could say it's Jesus. It could say it's your dad. It could say
Right.
whoever it wants. And the goal is to convince you to go through
entice
the
you
light.
to go
To
through the
entice you
light.
to go through the light. So what the light actually is immediate reincarnation. That immediately your soul is sent back down to earth and reincarnated. And the idea is to trap souls on earth so that they can keep powering these other dimensions, these other beings, whatever it is.
Kind of like the movie The Eternals.
Yeah.
They had the great,
Yeah.
they were, we were just pawns. We were, and these
The
great
Eternals
beings.
isn't the Earth basically a giant egg, if you will? And there's
Hatching another eternal.
Tiamat,
They're-
Tiamati or whatever.
Yeah,
his
they're
name
wanting
is
to
the one
make
in
it
ours.
into like an egg or like a factory.
Well, it's got a being in the center of it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
And I think in the
Ti-
end, we don't know like what the true goal is for them entrapping the souls. But that's kind of the idea. That's what it is. The reincarnation trap is just that you.
So where does this come from? Like, what's the root? Why did this become? Why did this become a thought?
A couple things
There's
that I'm
some
aware
book.
of. There was a book that a lady wrote saying these things, and that kind of what Tim was saying earlier too. That the elites on planet Earth that are still human, like the elites, like say the Rothschilds and all these other people,
The kings and the queens.
the kings and the queens and the Rothschilds and all the elites on
Vaticans
Earth,
and
that they are fully aware of this, that this is just what it is. Because even if you think of like the Rothschilds and kings and all that stuff, that they were these were humans put in place to rule while the other beings were away, right? To do their bidding. So they basically
so
said, hey, you guys can
throughout-
all manage Earth, control Earth, reap the rewards and benefits from it, but our true goal is this.
And I want to say something about that real quick, because supposedly the elite, some of which are, to quote Princess Diana, or you can see quotes where she's talking to old friends, and they're like, "What's wrong?" And she basically just says in code, "These people are not human." Like talking and referring to some of her family members in the like the royal family members, like straight up basically. And then you get into like reptilian stuff, maybe the Anunnaki and reptile-y stuff has a certain truth to it as well. They're disguising themselves. They were the original gold miners, and we've become the gold miners, and those lizardy type creatures have become the ones that are actually the ones in charge and dealing with us and kind of protecting us, or not protecting us, but making it so that we're in our place
And keep it in the
still
bloodline, and that's
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
things too. Because think about this: like, why do we have a president technically every 8 years. It's as much as you can do is 8 years. And then if you look at other countries, like they have leaders that are there for a long time, but when they talk about prime ministers and all that stuff, they're not in for lifetime. They're come and go. So it's still the elites gaining mass control, and then all these little pawns just underneath them that look like rulers. They're just like, oh no, I mean, we're going to give you enough knowledge to do this, but you can't know the true secrets.
Oh, and you without a doubt, America is full of that, don't you think? I mean, it's we've got our rulers and they're nice little puppets, and we can look at them, and feel like, and even I've mentioned where at least Joe Biden is keeping the norm, right? I've said that, and previous presidents before Joe Biden, it was nice that they were just keeping the norm. This is why everybody gets so excited about Trump, because they're thinking, well, no, Trump isn't the norm. He's the guy that's trying to go after all these reptilian factions and stuff. That's where a lot of QAnon and whatnot. This is literally their Bible. This is their playbook. That Trump came in and he knows about this stuff, and he's going to reveal it all. And so you got to be careful, with this. It's really just such a strange territory. It's such a strange territory to be in, talking about those in charge and stuff. I don't know. It's a strange one.
And I'd say this, and whenever someone mentions, like this crazy, conspiracy with the government, or with these other beings that's keeping us in prison, it's like, after all of that, you don't think some people have decided to change their minds and just be like, hey, everybody, this is what's been going on. Like, somehow they've been able to keep all of this under wraps.
Well, they may have a few of those people.
I mean, they've had some whistleblowers, but I mean, like, come on, do you really think us as humans are this clever and this collective?
Well, and that's why the theory goes
to hold this secret.
Well, that's
for
why
so
the theory
long?
goes to it's just the elites. Right?
Yeah.
So imagine you're a Rothschild, for an example, right? And you turn 18, and your father brings you in with a bunch of the other elders and other groups of the elites, and they basically do a crossbones type ceremony on you, and then they read you in. And there's no reading out. So if you want to go against the grain, oh yeah, my son died in a tragic sailing accident.
Right.
So there's no going against the grain. So, but then all of a sudden,
Kennedys.
Well, dude, I'm telling you, like,
could be.
All of a sudden, that guy dies. The young kid who's been read in now has children, and it's just this repeat. So you don't go outside of the bloodline, right? And I think it's just with the same bloodlines, the same elites. It's just a new generation. Like, presidents come and go.
But the Rothschilds
prime ministers
and the
come and go.
Rockefellers will be forever.
They're
the
forever,
Kennedys
man.
generations and generations of wealth and.
Yeah. I mean, there was a chart, and I don't know how much I buy into it, but there was a chart that basically showed all the U.S. presidents except for like 2 were all related. That all could tie back to the same ancestors.
Yeah,
and I don't know how true that is.
I don't either.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
It's interesting to think if that were the case, that there really is no choice. It's just the illusion of choice.
But see, when you start talking about all these weird things like that, like, is it far-fetched to think? I mean, if you believe in a heaven, if you believe in multiple dimensions, if you believe in aliens, if you believe in all these things, is it far-fetched to believe that there's a grid system, a matrix that we can't see, that traps souls? I would say no.
Supposedly,
I think it requires more faith. That requires more faith than some of these religions.
Here's the thing, though, is I hear what you're saying.
Tell that to my...
I hear what you're saying, but I would disagree. And the reason I would disagree is because it's a new theory to you, so it requires more to buy in. But because you've been a Christian for your entire life, there's nothing to buy in. It's just, it is what it is, right?
But you have to have a lot. But you have to have so much faith in people. Like, don't think that people are going to go mental and just lose their minds and just unload all of this stuff? Like, you really think humans are that clever and that secure to be able to block this secret?
I would say this, Josh, go look at your dollar. And they've been putting this in our faces for years. years that the pyramid and the eye, that has a ton of meaning, and even the different. There's all sorts of iconic. They like to throw that stuff right in our faces, and it's a challenge of anything. Like, oh yeah, let's tell them the truth, and we'll reveal a lot of stuff.
But here's the thing, though,
it's out there every day. You know what I mean?
I don't think it naturally comes from humans, though. If this is the case, I think it comes from entities outside, to where if you go to, let's say 20 families around the world. Let's say 20. I have no idea. Go to 20 families around the world, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And you say, here's the deal. You can see what we can do. We need you to reign while we're gone. You pass it down. You keep everyone in check.
And you better keep it quiet.
You keep it quiet, or we'll come back. So what do? I mean, this is a next level fear where all of us are running around, and that's where you could even explain, maybe even organized religion coming into play. How do we keep these assholes in checks and they're no longer scared of us? I don't know. Make up some evil thing that'll happen to them if they're real bad. Santa Claus isn't coming tonight type thing. So all of a sudden, everybody's just in check. And now here we are at a time in history to where we're starting to question things because we've become smarter. We've become more educated, right? We're starting to question things as the normal people. And then all of a sudden, when somebody gets a little too close to the truth, what happens?
No, the plane goes down.
They disappear. They're gone. So, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe, Josh, we don't give enough credit to some of these people.
I still think there's way too much organization. I don't have that much faith in people.
Not if there's only a handful of people.
But
even then, I just
these
don't
people
think
might
we're
not
that
be
organized. I don't
right.
think we
But
are
they might
that
not
organized.
be people either, Josh.
Which is
Some
true
of
as
them
well.
might.
That's a whole other ball game.
We're talking about possibly beings that have been here for thousands of years too,
Yeah.
who have no real death cycle
Shapeshifters,
like
bro.
a human. Yeah, the skinwalkers, the beings that are all laughable to most of us, right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
what if they're real? What if they're real? They're here and they've been doing projects and studying us for centuries, and who knows? Maybe they will return. Maybe we will see a big ship in the sky, and then we'll have some real crazy debates to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, even some of these people who have had near-death experiences, just the way that they explain everything, and the other thing too is they see this light, they communicate with this light, and then in certain cases the light just convinces them to go back. Right? Keep them there. Again, I have no idea.
So are we a giant petri dish?
Yeah. I do think.
Is
I
that
do
what?
think that's
Is that
a big
the gist of this? That we're a big
Well,
petri
there's
dish,
that,
and we
yeah.
just kind of reincarnate,
Well,
and we just kind of go back
the
to slime?
Goldilocks. We're this Goldilocks system. I mean, the sheer odds of us even existing is absolutely mind-boggling when you think about how our satellite, the moon, works, and I mean, it's insane to think that. This just happened in creation, which, I don't think it did. I think obviously the Bible would say it was created and put there, or if you're into even something beyond the Bible, you're going to say that, well, okay, lizard people brought the satellite here, or ancient sentient creatures, the Anunnaki, which probably look really strange, animal-like, thanks to our Egyptian hieroglyphics, we can get a glimpse of whatever they were drawing. Maybe it was all nothing, but in that sense, these beings, whoever they are, the Anunnaki, given the current name, or Nephilim, if they do exist, some of them are here, and then there's a big chance they're going to return. I mean, that's what you hear in a lot of the TV programming, right? The programming that we're hearing is, oh yeah, there's a very chance that they're going to show up again, and who knows what they'll do. Maybe they'll take us into a golden age. Who knows? But a lot of people think that just going into like the for a moment about how or why that they even think that this grid would exist and our souls would feed in energy. maybe you've heard this, maybe you haven't, but people who know or believe that there are reptiles among us, they get a big kick, almost like a drug-like kick off of despair and war, or a baby crying, or, you know, any kind of trauma. Supposedly that's like a drug, and it has something to do with our pineal glands, and it gives off a thing, and, you know, but that right there would make kind of what you're saying, Todd, you know, the energy, this continual spice melange that we give off when we have fights or wars or fear or anger. That's the energy that you're talking about.
Sure. And if you think about that
possibly,
too.
I mean, it's very powerful. We were very, and another thing, you got the Bob guy, what's his name? Bob Lazar, and I've heard this a couple times, that when he's talked to or heard conversations between aliens and higher ups, they've all said the same thing. Well, what are we? What are humans? Well, you're containers.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Containers? Containers of what?
Containers of a soul. Containers of energy.
Of an energy, too.
And here's the thing, man.
A power.
We all know that energy cannot die. That energy always exists, right?
And isn't it also true that there's no loss of mass ever, right? It might change.
Yeah.
We turn to dust, but there's still the same amount of materials.
Sure, yeah. So, with that being said, if energy always exists, right? And this is scientifically proven now that energy just exists, that you can't stop energy, right? Like even when you have these devices, like everything is putting something in motion. When you run power through something, it's putting something in motion. When you turn on your speaker and sound comes through and it generates those speakers to pulsate and create an audio wave that then moves forward. That's an actual thing. What do you think audio is? It's not nothing. I mean, that's what we forget. Air is not nothing. Audio is not nothing. Light is not nothing.
They're all waves.
It's all waves. It's all energy, and everything is a frequency.
Frequencies. Yeah.
So if you think about that, if everything is a frequency and everything is always in motion and energy never dies, it just transforms, then what happens to us? And we're conscious beings. We are conscious beings, dude. Like, we're aware. Speakers aren't aware. This light that we know aren't aware, but maybe they are. But we've been able to harness all these different molecules and all these different atoms and all these things together to create us, I think, as an antenna, as the sickest radio on the planet, to tap into our soul. I think the silver cord thing, I think it's true. I think we're attached to a soul that exists outside. So when I think about these kind of things, when I think about this reincarnation trap, now again,
hold on. With the silver cord, though, when you leave your body, your silver cord's connected to the body.
To the body. That's what I mean. I think the silver cord, like our soul and consciousness, I think does not really exist within this body. I think it exists outside and wherever, heaven, the ether. I have no idea. I think it taps into Todd, this physical body, as a receiver. That's the cord.
Sure.
That's the cord, right? So I think when we die, it's severed, right? We are no longer attached to this physical body. So I don't know, man. I mean, with that being said, it's hard for me to 100% buy into this reincarnation trap. I believe in reincarnation. I totally do. I think it's by choice, though. And again, this is what they say in the reincarnation trap, that's the lie that they've told you, right? That they convince you that you want to go back, right? They convince you to go through the light. I don't know.
So the ultimate debate is, where does your soul get transferred?
Well, yeah. I mean, in a way.
Because we all agree the soul is getting transferred in some way or fashion. Where does that soul go, and what kind of control do we have?
And also, some near-death experiences talk of even darker dimensions too, right? That's the other part we're forgetting. There are like 10-15% where it's not the beautiful source of light. It's more dark and disturbing than that.
Well, all religions acknowledge that.
But yeah, I don't know. Most of the time it's pretty happy. Most of the time it's pretty peaceful.
Well, that's what we focus on. But we all agree that there's more. We can't understand that dimension.
Yeah,
we only live in one dimension.
Right, and I think the closest we can get to fully understanding this is from some of these near-death experiences, and there are thousands of them to listen to. I mean,
so what's the debate with the white light? Like how? Because when we hear about near-death experience, we hear about white light. It's usually a happy thing, correct?
Well, that's
it's like a brilliant light that you
feel
look at.
Good.
Yeah, so that's kind of the perception
it's the brightest
with this
light
as
you've
well.
ever seen.
Yeah. So this is again, I'm kind of with you, Josh,
So
when you say this.
What is this thought process that it is a bad thing now? Like, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
Well, that's what this theory is all about. That it's not necessarily a bad thing; it's a trick thing, right? That there's this being that comes around, or beings that mimic what you believe, what you long to see. Like if I long to see my mother when I die,
They're sirens.
They're sirens.
They're sirens in space.
So
Space sirens.
Like
so
Satan,
so
a
we
deceiver.
know from near-death experiences that they see these vibrant lights, they see this, but there's always this one light, right? In a near-death experience, there's always this one light, and when they look at that light, they go, I want to go there. And then somebody stops them and says, well, hold on. If you go there, there's no coming back. That's the other side, right? So it's not your time. You need to go back.
Go back home.
Go back home.
yeah.
Go back to Earth.
Thanks for being here. Go back home.
Right. So that's where I actually lean in this whole theory. That's where I struggle with this whole white light theory. So that's the one. That's what we're familiar with, right? If you go to that light, you're gone. You're in heaven. And this new theory says, no. If you go to that light, that's where you want to go, but it's a trick to get you to reincarnate. It's a trap. And then reincarnation trap. But it's a trap to get you to come back.
I don't know what theory this is or story or whatever, but it was like where angels were actual demons. I mean, it's kind of Golden Compass like, where
Sure.
it's like we thought these were good beings that were guiding us, but in reality they were bad, and that was the whole concept of the Golden Compass and his whole philosophy.
I think there's often been lots of debates about that. And
Because
yes,
the white light
probably
could be
from
that way. It's a trick. I mean,
Well,
that's the whole.
actually, this is
concept
something that
of Satan. It's deception. It's just a
Yep.
concept of
This
deception.
is exactly what a lot of Christians actually believe too. A lot of older gentlemen that I know in the faith who've written books and are very smart, and I'll bring up the video of the guy who drowned. We all like, who said he went and saw the light and was peaceful, and they would tell me, Tim, that's nice and all, but I think that the near-death experience is actually the lie. And these are from faith people that are high up in
But maybe
what I
that's
would call,
the problem. I don't mean to cut you off, but maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the debate.
But they're saying the same thing. They would agree with us in a sense. But their thing is that, oh no, the problem. Like, okay, one of them is a very prolific author that I talked with literally probably about 2 weeks ago. I'd missed him. He lives in North Idaho. I called him up, and he was very well known. I'm not going to say his name, but we talked about this, and I said, what do you think about all this? And he said, Tim, the problem is when you hear these stories, they don't. And of course, in his case, it would be they don't match up with the gospel. And what they end up doing is and he gave me about 4 or 5 points that are telltale signs of that they're very occultic in nature. And so when you hear the near-death experience, you hear that you are God in a way. You can become part of the source and have all understanding.
That you are part of God. You
Yeah,
are
that
God.
you are God.
Tim is
that
God. Josh is God.
We're all God.
Right.
we're all God and all is one. That's a lie, he would say. He doesn't agree with that. And, I don't fully understand it. I don't know if I agree with him. I don't know. It's a very...
Listen, I hear what you're saying. And here's...
But he would say... I'm sorry, real quick.
No,
he would say that this whole thing, and a few of these people that I know, again, they would say that this is the devil working on the human soul, lying to us and not really revealing the full truth.
Sure. And here's my counter argument. My counter argument to that is, what if the scripture is the devil and we're following that?
That's exactly what the Church of Satan would say. I mean, right? Their doctrine would be.
Listen, here's the thing.
But they would say that the God is actually the problem.
I don't think,
or Jesus
sure,
and all that.
I don't think
and
God's
that the
a
devil
problem.
is out trying to make it right.
I don't think
make
God
truth.
is a problem at all. I think here's the thing. I think we have thousands of people have recorded their near-death experiences, and my mother-in-law is one of them, right?
Yeah.
And that's personal. Like this woman doesn't lie, and we have great conversations. We talk about this stuff in depth. And matter of fact, she's Catholic. They go to church almost every day. So for her to talk about a near-death experience and to have it, and then for somebody else to say, well, that sounds satanic in nature, that sounds evil in nature, I don't think so. I think if we're really looking at things, we have thousands of people who are recording a very similar experience, as in
a
steps.
scientist,
So as a scientific proof that it's been repeated over and over again, and also in that we see that it is personalized. It is personalized to you because you are a unique soul. You are a unique being. So there's all these thousands of things that go, yes, there is something else. Here's the proof. And we go, no. The proof is in this 6,000-year-old book. This is the proof. Those are campfire stories, bro. There's probably some truth to them, but those are campfire stories. We have evidence right here. And that's what I'm saying. That's where I get a little upset with people of faith who discount that stuff and say, well, no, that's the enemy. No.
I don't necessarily agree with the people I've been talking with.
No, and I'm not arguing with you. I'm stating my point of
right.
Like if I believed wholeheartedly in my base of financial reward and my livelihood was based on a certain thing, you better believe I'm not going to talk against that thing, right? If my livelihood is Christianity, and I'm going to support everything that states for Christianity. So again, who has more credibility? The extreme religious person who makes a living off. I'm not going to say that.
No, I hear you.
You know what I'm saying?
But there's the business side of it. But there's also. But then, why would they deny somebody who actually had an encounter after death? Why would they deny that and go, oh, no, you're just being lied to? And I agree with you. I'm just letting you know that these people exist. There are lots of people of faith that are almost, in a way, agreeing with the theory that we're talking about.
The same reason that your mom never heard about someone dying of cookie dough, but she told you you're going to get worms, but she doesn't know anyone who has worms, but she's doing it out of security and out of just concern.
Yeah, nice call.
I still don't think dogs are allergic to chocolate. I think we just don't want to feed them our chocolate.
I think
so
that's fair.
Kids, don't feed
that's
the
my
dog
chocolate. I told kids are allergic to chocolate too. Don't eat my chocolate.
Right.
Kids.
But I think that the science of it is there. That's where it is nice. You can read books where strictly is just science, right? The guy, the near-death experience that you sent us, Todd, months ago that spurred this all on, he even links to a book in that video, and I went and got that book.
Dr. Moody.
Yeah, Dr. Moody, who just wanted to study 40. Who wanted to study 40 different people who didn't have secondhand accounts, had first-hand accounts of this experience, which is cool because then you can compare and do a scientific research on, and all of them pretty much said the same. They all ticked the same boxes. Yes, it was unique to their own soul, as you put it, but they still ticked some major categories, some major chapters or scenes that we'll all see or experience to a certain extent.
Yeah, for sure. And and that's kind of
life review.
if we go back to this. And that's the other thing they were saying too about this reincarnation trap, that the life review was trickery as well. It was to only point out the bad things that you had done. Listen, you haven't done it right yet. You've got to go back, right? And I was like, oh man, that's really interesting take on it, But I've also heard in a lot of these near-death experiences, it's not all bad. The life review is not all bad. It's every emotion. It's everything that you've done within this life and in previous lives, like joy, pain, suffering, pain and joy for others, like everything. You feel everything.
All in a blink of an eye.
All in a blink of an eye.
Quickly reviewed.
Yeah. And, another common thing, too, is like when they talk about some of these near-death experiences, that there is just a knowing. There's communication without words. There is just understanding. And there was one guy that I listened to the other day, and he was talking about the difference. So when he died, he had his near-death experience. He had... because we were trying to determine the factor between near-death experience, hallucination. Good Lord. Hallucinations. Hallucinations. So near-death experience, hallucinations, and drug-induced, right? Because he's hooked up to all these things. He's in pain. They're trying to feed him drugs. So there's all these things that are going on. And also he was in a coma. So, but the way that he explained the difference between the three, how did you not just think that was just, the drugs that they were giving you? How did you know you were in a coma? How was it not just a dream? But the way that he explained each was definitive. Like, it was like, no, I knew the difference from when I was hallucinating. Like, it was bizarre, odd, didn't make sense. He goes, I thought I was a cow one time. I was running around with cow legs. He goes, that was that, right? When I was in a coma, there's nothing. There was darkness. I don't remember anything. But this was entirely different. I felt alive. Because I told you more alive. Because I told you even my mother-in-law said the thing that shocked her the most, and I've heard this in other NDEs. The thing that shocked them the most was, I'm still me. I still feel me. Right? It's not like I'm just this weird kind of floating orb. I still felt like me. That's fascinating. So
but much lighter and more free.
Oh yeah, no pain.
They're free when the guy who drowns looks at his body. He's like, oh, that's me. Oh, but I feel so much lighter, and I feel. And
I've also heard too when people are looking at their body as they're kind of drifting away, as they're looking at their body. Sometimes it takes a minute to recognize that that's them, because it doesn't make sense. Like even the understanding of you were in a bad wreck, that's you lying there. And, I've heard people say, like, as they were floating up, and it wasn't odd that they were floating. It felt normal.
And it felt good.
And it felt good. You felt free.
Like you're finally free of a prison.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I think there's so many things out there that point us to another realm that we are from. And granted, like, I'm not a very religious person. I've studied religion, but I'm not a very religious person, man. And for that exact reason, because I feel like there's so many things that point to there's another thing. We can call it whatever we want. God, the source, whatever it is, it's there. So I don't understand how people can say there's nothing. Like, we can have an argument.
It had to have been designed. I mean, it's just too. Even the staunchest atheist has admitted there'd have to be an ultimate designer.
I mean, that's the thing. Is for the eyeball, for the eyeball to become what it is, and do what it does. And are there flaws? Sure, there are flaws. But
oh my gosh!
But to do what it does, how long would that take? Now, now remember. Homo sapiens, us, the only existing humans on this planet now, because there were quite a bit more, have only been around for 200,000 years. As this form.
Supposedly.
Yeah. So how long before that were we little muddy things coming up? And as we were these little muddy things coming up, there were Neanderthals running around. There were a bunch of other human-like creatures running around, right? Where were we? Where were we? Were we developing better eyes? No, dude. No. Like, even if you look at it from that point, like, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that there were all these other beings, human beings running around, but we were still working stuff out.
I want to throw even one more thought in there. I've recently had this mulling around in my head for quite a while because it was such an interesting thought. But some video I'd seen, they were talking about how we're actually the odd ducks on the planet. If you look at most of nature, you have bears with fur, dogs with fur, ducks have feathers. I mean, lizards are scaly, and I guess they don't have fur. But still, on a whole, the creatures on this earth were actually suited to, or designed, created for the extreme conditions of this planet.
Right.
The weather patterns, the sun. And then you come to Homo sapiens. Yes, we may have dominion and have a sentient understanding that we're alive, or we can, we're self-aware, but our skin burns in the sun, and so we're kind of almost like the odd duck that we're the odd ones.
And then if you take, dude, 100%,
we're the astronauts.
Yes, and if you take evolution in any form, macro or micro, really doesn't matter. If you take any form of evolution, a bear that lives in the snow becomes a polar bear, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I could buy that. A bear that
Lateral
lives in Georgia, United States, becomes a grizzly bear. Okay, I could buy that. Or black bear. Yeah, I could buy that. Where's our evolution? I'll tell you,
right.
Like what you just said. I don't think the Caucasian Homo sapien is native to this planet. Doesn't make any sense. The sun causes us cancer. The sun harms us. The entity of life.
We grew up in environments where it was very rainy and cloudy.
For 200,000 years?
Well, some believe that
don't believe it,
there
man.
was, but hold on, Todd. Some people believe that this is where the guy who built the Ark in Kentucky, the scientist from, I think he's Australian originally. His name is eluding me, but I'll think of it. Anyhow, he had arguments with Bill Nye, the science guy, the whole debate, and of course he looked like the idiot at the end.
He did, yeah.
But he believes that there was a canopy of ice that surrounded the Earth that protected us for quite a while, and then through
like Captain
some
America.
sort of it was like a shield of ice. It was like we were in an egg, like practically like an egg shell of basically
bubble.
our ozone. Our ozone was more than just a gaseous layer. It was kind of a frozen layer.
You've seen the Disney movie Atlantis? It's about the air pocket, a whole civilization, and then it developed and it crusted, and then it was like,
well, yeah. So, but then due to certain circumstances, and of course we all know, and every culture in the world has this thought that something cataclysmic happened and we had a flood. The Ken Ham, that's the guy's name. Ken Ham believes that ice that had been there for years protecting us, making the Earth a tropical environment all around the planet, not just in one location, all over the Earth. There were no biomes of deserts and jungles. It was just jungle.
Well, now
when we had the cataclysmic event, the flood happens, all that ice rains and causes the flood. There is also waters from the deep that show up and cause a flood. But then this is where we start having the weather patterns now, right? Because that canopy's gone. Now we've got weird hurricane seasons and You know, we're getting holes in the ozone and the sun. We can see the aurora borealis now because that protective layer broke. You know.
Well, I will say
Kind of
this too,
interesting.
that Ken Ham also believes. I've been to there. I've
Again,
been
I know
there.
it's Ken Ham.
Kim Ham also believes that the Earth is actually 3,000 years
What,
old.
6,000
Or
to
whatever.
3?
Yeah.
right.
Like
And that, I mean, okay.
Well,
I
then-
will say this: if there is a God,
Yeah.
right, and He said that I built this place in 7 literal days, and He's God. Well, I mean, yeah, He's God. He could. God is something that we can't even fathom. So, why would we argue that? Now, did it happen, or did God just say, "Okay, look, just tell people this. This is basically it. That day 1, I did this. Day 2, I did this. Day 3, just so that they could understand it, so they could even pass the narrative down to the next kids, right? It would be really hard for God to go into the science of all of it, right?
So do you think that God gave all these messages to the Neanderthals as well?
I don't even know. I don't necessarily believe in a Neanderthal. Unfortunately, I know you might be able to. I don't know. That to me, I have to.
There's physical evidence of a Neanderthal. There's not physical evidence of a God.
What makes it different
Well-
than a less evolved human?
I have to. But I just don't know enough about it. I'd have to see this Neanderthal. I know they have Lucy, etc., etc. I don't know, man. I don't think we evolved like. I don't know. I have a hard time thinking that we did like that. You know, the picture of the ape going into a walking man. I just don't. I personally don't think that that's what happened. But I think it's something even stranger. You know, that it was more of a. You want to talk about petri dish? We talked about that earlier. We probably are. Well, it says in the Bible, right, that we were created in. Let us make man in our own image. So what does that mean? Like that's sort of science is even weirder, if you ask me. We'll take some dirt and we'll put our we're going to make this being like in our own image. Like what is that? You know. So that could be where we're talking about the ancient Sumerian stuff might even make more sense in why we came about. In fact, even ancient aliens would tell you that the Neanderthal man was here, sure, and then the Anunnaki went, hey, hunt one of those Neanderthal guys down. They're at least bipedal and they can walk around. We just got to give them some sentience, right? Some self-awareness. Let us make... them like us, kind of, right?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
But you do know
There's no
that there,
evolution. I don't think
there are
there's an
8
evolution
human
of it.
species confirmed that we're on this planet.
Well, okay, that's fine.
But you say you don't believe
But-
in Neanderthals.
No, I'm
Well,
with
I mean,
Tim
I'm
though.
saying-
I
I'm
think
saying it's-
I'm with Tim. We don't come from apes. We come from a different species that was similar
I think
to
that
apes.
there is a petri dish.
different.
The science of it. There really is a. Okay, let's take that little thing over there. That ape, that gorilla, that other.
I wish I was a gorilla.
Don't you think if something can go extinct, that we may have had gorillas or apes that we just never even knew existed? They went extinct long ago. So yeah, we're gonna find their bones. But does that mean that they're us? No, I think.
I think that
genetically altered
science
or
is
whatever.
smart enough now to tell the difference between an ape and a human species. Like they're different. Like they're a different species than an ape. Like they're pre-us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, but I don't. See,
We
I
showed up
can't-
on the map about 200,000 years ago.
Yeah.
From my understanding, out of the blue. Out
I'm
of
too
nowhere.
screwed up. I have to kind of like in the Shark Tank when they go, "I'm out." I'm too screwed up with religion. Not screwed up. Religion
I understand what you're
and
saying.
my background it throws me off too much.
And I get that.
I'm not necessarily going to be leaning on the science of it so much.
Right.
Where they say, "Oh no, you were an ape and then we evolved into this
And then
upright." I just don't see that.
And Tim, I know
don't think
you're
that's the thing.
extremely open-minded to all kinds of things. So this is what I'm about to say is not directed at you. at all.
Yeah.
It's directed at the mass of people who are very religious or grew up religious. That they kind of like maybe your friend who wrote the book. You're so stuck in a mindset, not you, Tim, in general.
I got you.
You're so stuck in a mindset that there is no other alternative, no matter what you're shown. I mean, let's look at this as what's happening today, right? Donald Trump's convicted of 34 crimes, right? And
Yeah.
I see people posting, "I'll vote for him. I'm more him than ever. I'll vote like he's definitely my guy now." Right? So Donald Trump could shoot somebody in the face on live TV and everybody be like, "That's my guy."
Well, he's even said that.
But here's my point. My point is that people get so stuck in a belief system that they can't see outside of it, right? And so I understand even what you're saying. Like you've been so brought up this way that it is like even for you to believe some of these far-fetched things is kind of odd, right? But you believe like you listen to it and you take it in.
I like to go there. I like to see what my brain.
Right. And I love that. And that's what I love about you.
Ultimately, it's all.
Yeah.
I don't throw any eggs in any basket.
Sure.
I'm just trying to, again, just live life and care about others and make it through to the other side. And then I'll let you know if I can. But
Please do.
I probably won't be able to.
But it scares me. It scares me how people don't consider it, right? Like I said, even though this reincarnation trap seems far-fetched, I don't know that I personally buy into it. I could see how it could be a thing, but it's interesting to have a conversation about it.
It is interesting, especially with this kind of. We may not be going into a renaissance of this, but at least in our podcast, it's interesting that we started talking about near-death experiences, and then maybe our computers heard us and started feeding us the algorithms of
Maybe.
Well, have you heard of this theory?
Right.
And I want to go back to the Neanderthal. I'm not saying they don't have physical fossils.
Okay.
They do.
Right.
Okay, good for them.
Right.
They've found all sorts of crazy fossils. They found, there's a being that they're looking at in Mexico right now with 3 fingers, elongated fingers, and they've actually determined that it's real. I'm not saying
that
we're
the
not
conversation
finding
with that part of that too was like this could be another human species, right? I know that's one of the things they were saying about that.
And
Sorry,
I'm not saying, but I don't think so. Yes, I believe in evolution, but I believe in more of a lateral, slow-paced evolution that is only interspecies. Micro. We're talking if you have a moth that's being eaten by a bunch of birds, and then one year that moth grows white limbs and speckled whatever, and it can't. Now the birds can't see it. That's what I believe more in that.
Well,
that makes more sense.
Kind of like along the lines too of like more and more human males are losing their hair, right? Like their hair on top of their head, because it's not necessary to keep us warm anymore, that kind of thing, right?
And who knows where we will, as a species, continue to do. But we're not all of a sudden going to just turn into some other, like one day. We're gonna all of a sudden my arms are bright as lights, and I don't have the need of skin anymore. I mean, whatever the next evolution of man would be, which would probably be some strange energy or something.
I don't know why our saliva doesn't kill bacteria like dogs.
Yeah,
that
right.
would be helpful.
Because we're not from here, dude.
We're
That's
not
what
really.
I'm saying.
We're the astronauts. We're the astronauts. But no, I just don't. That's what I'm saying. So again, if it goes to an intelligence saying, well, let's take the bipedal creature, the old ass version of an ape that we've never even considered existed, and let's mix a little bit of this and a little dash of that and throw some sentience in there, then I could see, wow, okay, a designer built us and made us in his own, that's what I'm talking about. I think that's what happened to us. And that designer, by the way, is very alien. Does he exist on this planet? No.
Sure. Well, and that kind of I'm with you, Tim, on that, because if you look at it, you go, how did we just show up? Because if you look at Homo erectus and Neanderthal, if you look at these guys, they're very similar. And yes, I'm with you too. There's a little bit more of an ape-like, right? Thicker bones, different head structure, smaller cranium, right? For a smaller brain. There's all these kind of things that indicate like these were more primitive beings than we are, right? And then all of a sudden, there's us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
It's
the
science.
story.
It's a science experiment.
Right.
And I mean, as much as, so I think I'm more like you, Todd, where I go, after much, years of being here and thinking about it and really trying to hear both sides, I don't think that we came from like a fish or some, I just don't think that. But I definitely can see where, yes, the earth is rather ancient. The Bible can only give us so much. The Bible and any ancient text can only give us so much insight into what really happened. But if we really saw it and were really transported there, if we could just time travel, we'd go, it's much stranger than I thought.
And it makes you think too, like with the Library of Alexandria, right? If you think about that place, and it was said that that place consisted of records predating the flood. The flood. So, for an example, let's say that Atlantis existed, and Atlantis had all this text and all this knowledge from tens of thousands of years, and then there was this great flood coming. So then they stored all this text, all that they could, and then everything settled back down. And because they're saying like even where Egypt is and where all that information was, that was just kind of a rebuild. That those pyramids were there, that they kind of rebuilt. Well, let's say
now they're looking. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're looking into the eye of the Sahara. Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Where there's concentric
was
circles.
That was Atlantis, is what they're thinking.
They
now.
think it's a.
Is it
It's
Wakanda?
covered in it.
It's not. It could be
Basically,
Wakanda. Well, what if Atlantis was Wakanda? Just this perfect harmony type place. But anyways, the Library of Alexandria. I mean, that was a theory that it was just filled with all this knowledge from tens and tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years of information. And then,
and where did it go? It just got burned by some emperor, or
it got burned. It got burned to the
well,
ground.
yeah, because why not? Why not? Because again, that's an old adage.
Mongols, maybe.
Well, those who control the past control the future.
Well, I mean, you can take that into current times.
Yeah.
You can take that into current times with some of these like ISIS and all that stuff going around destroying antiquity, right? They if you get rid of it, 100 years from now, no one will even know it existed.
Exactly.
Right? So that's the plan. And that's kind of even what the Christians did with their crusades, right? They went around and they destroyed because, no, you're wrong. Whatever you think, you're wrong. I don't care if you thought about it for 10,000 years. This is the new way.
Yeah.
So,
boy, and what a.
But and then you get spiritual about it, and there's some thoughts about maybe God wants that to happen because it just gives us more control.
Babel,
and
right?
the idea, and I look at God as a benevolent being, but the idea is that we need to be less concerned about control and more concerned about service and caring for each other. And sometimes we develop these really high knowledge stuff, and it gets us off the path. I'm just throwing that in there. There's
for sure.
Oh, you mean like we advance? Well, heck, I mean, right now we live in Tower of Babel too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
we've got iPhones and computers. We're all connected like never before. Mm-hmm. And you think that God would go, crap, they're doing it again. I got to switch up their language again.
Well, that's the thing too. Is that's where I go with. Like, I'm with you.
It is. Have you heard Gen Z's talk? It's a different language.
Right. Yeah. But there ain't no tongues of fire on that one.
No. Josh, I'm with you though. I think that God is benevolent. I think he is. I think he is pure light. I think that if you look at the God of the Old Testament, who's to say that that's not evil? That's not a false God. Who's to say that that's not a different being? Because it's night and day. It's night and day.
Yeah, I've talked about that with our small group before. Mm-hmm. I definitely think that Yeah, there's the people always say this. This is a very common argument. Like, what happened with the God of the Old Testament versus the guy that came in the New? Boy, he was not much nicer.
He got laid.
Right. But I don't. One, I mean, I think that if you have a task, a goal set upon to save something that you created, and you don't. We don't fully understand ancient man. I mean, yes, there were probably very good societies, but also I think there was a lot of, as of course the Bible will tell you, right? Which is, again, you have to have faith in that. And it'll say that the people were pretty evil to each other, real evil, real inhospitable.
But there had to have been a lot
then.
of good too.
Yeah, but I think on a whole we were on a trajectory, a pattern that looked darker than ever
Sure.
before. Like, it was very
child sacrifices.
sinister. Yeah, well, it just sinister. Like, I don't.
We were destroying ourselves from the inside out, slowly, but we were.
And when you look at God's direction to this small group of people he starts out with, what does he say? He says, "You see that town over there? Don't talk to them. You see that over there? Don't talk." And it isn't just because God's being mean. He knows that, one, they're going to destroy the community of the people he's trying to get through a real crazy moment in history. But he also goes, man, they just don't clean their food right. He knows about germs. And he's not going to sit there and try to explain to Israelites about germs. He just knows that they don't cook their food. They eat weird stuff, and they're going to die from disease. I got to get this group of people through to this thing, this goal that I have for all of humanity. Mm-hmm. And that is to really make the world a little more forgiving, a little more loving at the end of the day. Now, and so when it sounds like you're talking with a guy who's just a jerk, he's trying to just steer people, this group of people. Imagine you're God, and it's almost like a strategy game, right? A real-time strategy. You got to steer away from that tower because they're going to kill my people, and I got to steer them away from that because they're going to kill my people. And I got a goal to attend to that is a bigger goal, a better goal for this whole earth that I'm, established.
So you tell me.
I think that's the argument that I think makes more sense. I don't think he's a different God. He's the same one. We're just seeing it differently because
so you tell me, okay,
we don't understand what he had to do to get his goals accomplished.
Sure. So you tell me whether you think I'm a good person or a bad person. Here's the scenario. Mm-hmm. I get married. I start this family. I have a whole bunch of kids, right? But I don't really care for the way that any of these kids are acting. They're not really following my rules. Even my wife, she's not following my rules. So I decide one day I'm going to murder all of them. I kill them all, right? And then I go and I start over with a new family. And this family's going okay. They're following some of my rules, but I don't know, maybe I'll be nicer. Maybe I was the problem. So I'm going to be a little bit nicer and not kill them just yet. Am I a good guy? Am I a good guy?
Well, you get into Job. I mean, God allowed his whole family to die.
Am I a good guy?
Well, Todd, one, we're comparing apples to oranges here. You're a human being. You're going to have
made in his image, bro. I was made in his image.
I hear you. But you're also
the cult of Todd.
You're also bound to the laws of that govern this world, right? Like the fact that if you do said acts, you're not going to make it to the second family because somebody's going to throw you in a prison, right? You're going to have consequences for the things that you do.
But imagine I don't have consequences.
But if you're
a cult.
But if you're outside of time and space, seeing all of it before it happens, like some sort of Muad'Dib, right?
But then you already knew right off the bat, like these people are going to suck.
But you've made promises, and you're going to keep those promises no matter what.
See, that's another reason why I go with it. This is a very hands-off God.
You're not alone. A lot of our founding fathers believe that they believe he came and did his thing and then left and is doing other things. Right?
Is that pantheism?
No.
It's another theism. where he
Yeah.
he
did his
did
thing
the
and he's
spark,
gone.
and then he's
Right.
he doesn't interfere.
He might come back, check on us, but
he doesn't interfere.
Yeah, and
it
that's
doesn't-
depending on what
that
kind of-
viewpoint of a God like that. It doesn't seem very omnipotent, omnipresent. I think that
Right.
if you're truly God, not only are you the mere fact that we're even trying to debate about God
Right.
in this world
Well, we
is
have
a
no
joke
clue.
because it's like an ant trying to debate about where Todd's going to go on his day-to-day routine, and if a bunch of ants were
I
sitting
tell
there
them all the
fighting
time
over
they don't listen.
Deists. I think
What is it?
deist
but I mean
is what it
Deist?
is. Deist.
deists. But like the fact that some little creature trying to guess what I'm doing with my day-to-day routine, it would be laughable, right? If we were to shrink down to an ant and have ant conversations because of some device that allows us to talk to them
Yeah.
and go, what do you think of my day-to-day? Well, you open the big portal to go to the thing that I mean, they would totally get it wrong, right?
Right.
And that's what we're doing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
we're all doing
I don't
that.
think we have any clue. It's just fun to kind of speculate. But when I think about God, and what I mean by what I just said, that I don't think He is omnipresent. I think that's if we're looking at a God that is like us, like this kind of being God up there. I think God is 100% everything. I think it is in the light, it is in the sound waves, it is everywhere in everything at all times. I think within that, it knows how to create, right? It created the universe, but I don't think the universe created like that. I think it took time.
And even let's. I have thought this through before. Let's say that he did. And you go, well, hey, how come things don't date or why they date so old, right? When we're carbon dating. Well, I mean, we're talking about a being who's everlasting, eternal. We can't. That right there is unfathomable. Who's to say that his building blocks aren't as ancient? And no wonder it tracks scientifically the way it tracks, right? Wow, this is 600 million years old. Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking about a being who's eternal and is using materials throughout the universe that he's been given to task life into.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to use some ancient materials, don't you think?
Sure.
I mean, again, the mast doesn't go away; it's always there. Well, he's just using that same material, the same DNAs and the things that he could just turn into the molecules that he wants to turn things into. And yeah, it's gonna come across as old to us, trying to figure out the timing of it, right? But what if he did it in 7 days? Hey, he's God. He could do whatever he wants. That's the problem. We're talking about God. What is the definition of God?
Well, here's
unknowable,
Sure,
unfathomable,
sure.
Amazing being that we can't even. It's like
let's
a joke trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so, what if he could do it in 7 days? What if they're right? Well, and even if they're wrong, it's okay. I really don't care either way because
Well, yeah,
we're here.
it doesn't matter
You know,
either way.
I mean, the
Again,
point is we're
just
here.
fun to think about it. So here.
Oh, sure.
Here's another scenario. If you think of God as He created, let's also think of the way that a child is created. Right? It takes 9 months for a human child to be fully formed. Right? But when you look at it, why does it take 9 months? Well, because the cell, which we don't understand, right? We can study it, but we have no idea really what it is.
By the way, real quick side of you want to get crazy with the kind of tools that exist at a micro level, at that level.
Oh gosh, dude,
You don't think there's a designer? Look at the micro
That's my
level
point.
of those little tools.
That's my
little
point.
motors with things that we can't even recreate.
exactly. That's my point. So you look at this tiny little thing, and everything that's inside of that to make it work, and the electricity that's inside of that to power it, right? Like it's so fine, so small, so tiny.
Incredible small tools.
Incredibly small tools that are
that
working.
are all designed
and in my mind, to me,
They all have a
that's
job.
God. But they're programmed. They're programmed with a job to do, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, why does it take 9 months? Because all these things that are programmed, that already know what to do, they already
They
know what to do. Why doesn't it just
They were
happen?
built to do it.
And that's why I think God didn't do it in 7 days, because it takes time.
I don't think he did.
Right,
either.
but
I don't-
things take time.
And I don't think I think the narrative was just passed down so that we could just make sense of it.
How do you explain what we just explained in this podcast 2,000 years ago?
Yeah,
they're gonna look at us and be like, "Put them on stake, burn them."
They'd go, "Yeah, right."
Yeah.
That doesn't make
None of
any
that makes
sense.
But yeah, if you think about
that, you got to use for children. You got to use, day one. This is day one.
Day one.
Here's day two.
Day one. Two things collide, and create a spark that then both are coded to work together to create you.
Right.
What the fuck?
Well, but even down
That's
to
crazy.
Let's go back to the Big Bang, right? The Big Bang is often how we all got here through a big, huge explosion. And have you heard these scientists try to figure out how this is even possible? That in a nanosecond of time, it just explodes into all that we know. I mean, this who knows how small the universe really was, and all of a sudden it just sparks into existence, right? And even that is crazy to any atheist, any scientist, because the energy that it would be required to do all that and create what it finally created is, crazy.
But let's go back
it's
to
insane.
let's go back to the child.
Yeah,
A tiny egg,
right.
that you can't see with the naked eye. A
Right.
sperm that you cannot see with the naked eye collide. Let's
Right.
now
They
match that.
spark.
Let's now match that into outer space. Nothingness.
Right.
They collide, right? And it doesn't just form planets all of a sudden. It doesn't just form a baby all of a sudden, but things start to multiply, right? But there would have had to have already been a code written.
Well, I think that's where it's like God spoke and it.
So this is what I'm talking
that's the
about
code.
about a God who is hands off. Like he wrote the code, right? And I think by hands off I mean I don't think that God is diving in day to day. I think it's created. It's everywhere, so he's always aware.
Yeah.
It's not like he's watching down with a telescope. It's everywhere.
No.
It's always aware, even within us, right?
Right.
So I think it's there, right? And we know that even with human thought, just thought alone, that we can reverse ailments, right? I mean, think about it. If you're super anxious, I've had this happen to me, right? All of a sudden you're having heart palpitations. All of a sudden you're having a difficulty breathing. All of a sudden your gut's turning and churning and you just can't get control of it. And that's day in, day out. You are ill. You change your mindset, right? You get out of that anxiety. Maybe it's with medication, maybe it's with other things, but you get out of that. All that starts to fix itself, right?
Right.
So that's kind of what I mean. I think God is within. I think there's so much power, and I think when we say, and my wife will slap me for this 100%, but when we say that we are not God, I don't think that's true. And now I don't think it's like, I am God, everyone do what I say. No. I'm saying we are all God. We're all part of it. God is within us. God is within everything. God is within this light.
Well, I mean, I guess if you say God is omniscient, I mean, there you are. He's everywhere.
He's everywhere.
I mean, he's in us. He's in all around. He's the force. He's, and I agree. I do think to a certain extent that we give God way more, like the weight of his judgment on wee little tiny us is a little silly if you think about it. The only thing I think God is concerned with humanity is that not necessarily that I, got up this morning and did a sin, but that I think he's more concerned with the quality of our life due to the choices that we make, right? He understands it. See, it's exactly like you're saying. He understands that if you could just think lovingly and peaceful and patient and kind every day, waking up going, how can I be more loving and patient and gentle and kind and self-controlled? And, as it says, if you remain in me, you'll bear fruit. And the fruit is those things. Then it will make your life a little more bearable, right?
For sure,
And I think, if you can just wake up and not be so crazy and anxiety and not want to do bad to your wife or your kids or not want to do bad to your neighbor. Hopefully that's a ripple effect. One, it'll be a ripple effect if everybody woke up one day and just started being nicer to each other, how much of a better world we'd live in.
Yeah.
But then also it would, I mean, like, that's how I think hands-off God is. He's not sitting there going, oh, I can't wait to judge the world.
Exactly.
Like a lot of it is. I think it is that, oh, no, what you're doing to yourself, I had so much more planned for you than just to live in that sick thing you're living in.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, if you think, if people think that you are not a part of God and that you don't have some of the powers that God has, I think you have to wake up and look at that, right? Like, you have the power, and we've talked about this before, you have the power to sit across from somebody, your child, your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, your boyfriend. You have the power to sit across from them, look at them a certain way, and in the tone of your voice, destroy them.
Make their day or destroy their day.
Build them up.
Right.
And there's nothing, you're not touching them, you're not doing anything physical to them, but in your words, in your expression, in your tone, everything, in your mannerisms, everything. Like, that's power. We all have that.
The other thing we have to remember too, that this is just my humble opinion on it. So what we're saying, right? We've got God, Old Testament God. He's like a real mean guy, and then the New Testament, and we got all these like. Well, we're saying, okay, hey, but if we remain in like this good place with God or this life, and we project that onto others, we'll have a better life. We'll have a better upbringing. Our kids will be better. They'll be healthier if we're constantly doing positive things. The problem, I think, therein lies, though, is there is an enemy to that idea. There is a force that does, if you want to call it the devil, or if you don't, whatever it is, there is a negative force that has been allowed to run amok and wars against those things. It's been allowed to, for whatever reason, war and make us struggle with those things. You know what I mean?
I do.
So that's why it doesn't just come so naturally.
Sure.
Something wars against us to make it harder to just do the right thing.
Well, certainly. I mean, if you think about it, everything in this world exists off positive and negative charges, right? I mean, if you look at the way our Earth spins, if you look at the magnetism on our planet, like everything is a positive and a negative, right? A yin and a yang. Absolutely everything. So you have God, good, devil, bad, right? So what is that actually? Can it be explained by science? Well, not quite yet. Will it someday? Yeah, because I personally don't believe in a devil. I don't believe in a hell. I don't think that exists. But there is a negative. There's always a negative, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with a positive comes a negative.
Right, and it might be internal, but unfortunately, the fact that it's even internal, it's still a thing. It's still a force.
Oh, it is a force, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, obviously, the Bible is going to say, and the Bible isn't even necessarily. People think the devil is all throughout the Bible. He's not. There's portions.
Well, there's the argument that he was included later on too.
Later on, I've heard that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know the Catholic Bible has maybe a little more like books on it that we don't in the Protestant Bible doesn't have, you know. But anyway, back at the beginning where we have this narrative about two people in a garden and the snake, and he tells them about this apple. That one's a tough narrative for me. I mean, anybody, it should be tough for anybody reading it going, what? Like, really, tell me what it
So
really
how did that
was.
turn into 8 billion people
sense.
that look different? Huh.
What's that?
I said, well, then how did that turn into 8 billion people that look different?
That look different, right. Well, and I think, like, it was the Bible, it was the campfire story that, has certain things in it that maybe you can take away from it, but it's still just for children. Right. and we make it out to a lot of Christians make it out to be, no, this is exactly what it was. There was a garden and 2 naked people, and you go, but was it? You know, that's what I do anyway. I go,
Well, for sure.
I can't, because I got a lot of questions.
Yeah,
you know, when I read,
everybody has all these different groups of people, and they all have different origin stories.
No, but I have a point to this. So ultimately, though, there still is a bigger, just like the creation story, there's still a bigger narrative or a bigger idea that one could withdraw from these children's stories. And it is that this force of negativity was brought about because of whatever we did. We did something, and a major force of negativity. We listened to a negative force. The serpent, and we went along with it, and now that caused an even greater divide between a positive force, and then brought in a way bigger amount of negative force to this earth, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, you could say to the Christian faction, oh, well, that's your devils and your demons and all that. Perhaps, but it definitely caused a fracture in what had once been to where we are now. There was a difference. There was a time where, like we're saying, the Atlantis, what could it have been? Maybe it was a wonderful place, and then something changed, and a force of evil was allowed to work upon us like it had never been allowed to do before. And now, ipso facto, here we are today, still dealing with the remnants of that curse, of whatever that was, whatever that tale. Now, of course, again, it's a serpent in the children's story, but we're still affected by that. And how long will we be affected by that? I don't know.
I think that's a universal rule. I think it just is.
But it might not, because I think that there is also in the narrative that all things are made right, and that stuff is kicked away and completely rid of. So yes, it would be out of balance, say, with the yin and yang, but I don't know. Supposedly the force of evil that wars upon us, that wars upon man and humanity here on this earth at least, will disappear. Now, I don't know about the rest of the universe, but definitely on this earth has a strange condition that's happened to it through,
I just think,
weird warring factions of dimensions we don't even know about.
Yeah, I mean,
and we won't be able to understand anyway. But, and again, I could be wrong. I'm just saying, don't forget, like, there are through the children narratives, there are major points you could bring out and go, yeah, but that does make a sense why we still feel cursed today. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and I wonder about that sometimes, simply because I feel like humans have been conditioned, whether it be religion or some outside entity, something, I don't know. I think humans have been conditioned to not praise or condemn ourselves. What I mean by that is things went good. Praise God. Well, what did you do? What did you do for things to go good? Because we all know people who just, their lives are good. Why are their lives good? They always think positive. They don't think negative. They treat everyone well, right? So things...
They're decent.
They're decent. Things come their way all the time. Wow, how lucky. No, not luck. They put the work in for that to happen. All right.
Sure.
And then on the reverse...
the person who's addicted to drama.
Right, drama. I mean,
and
their lives are always
surrounded
bad,
by drama.
right? Their lives are always bad.
Yeah.
So they don't give credit to that. Then it's quick for us to say, well, that was the demons that did it. That was the evil.
Of course.
That was the
evil
that came in.
Yeah,
no,
I'm
just saying.
I don't think that's right either. I don't think that's right either. I think that's just an excuse. But
sure.
But definitely, I would still say, even to the guy who is making good choices and to the guy that's making bad choices, guy, girl, whoever, they're both still warred upon daily by that struggle.
By themselves, though. By that internal struggle. Like, and what takes more energy, honestly? What takes more energy? In my opinion, it takes more energy to be angry.
To be the jerk.
To be the jerk.
Well, but it is easier, you know.
But it's not, man, because you have to maintain
it's easier
it.
Because it's more natural. It feels more natural.
I don't know
to
that it does, because I think everybody wants to smile. Everybody wants to be loved.
Sure.
Everybody wants to love. And when you don't get those things, when you don't get love and you don't get joy and all that kind of stuff, you start to frown. You start to treat other people bad, and you have to maintain that. You don't have to maintain being happy if you're happy. I mean, now there are some mental things. I'm not taking that away. There's some chemical things that go on, but I'm just saying in general, if everything's firing properly, it takes more effort to be a dickhead than to be a good person.
Yeah, and the problem is...
then again, you talk about energy, and you're spending way more energy. You're drained.
Right, but the problem is way too many of us are more addicted to the draining energy than are addicted to the good energy, and we're seeing that all around the world. I mean, we've become more obsessed over the negative than we are of the positive.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you were to ask your average man, you know, they're gonna answer negative more so than positive. You know what I mean? I do think that.
You think
I mean,
there's more pessimists than optimists.
Well, I know I'm saying that there just isn't, on a whole, based off of just the pattern you can see in nature, we're way more destructive in our behavior than we are uplifting in our behavior on a natural just day.
Sure.
Right? That's the problem.
Because there's more energy there. There's more energy in negativity, so we gravitate towards it.
And maybe maybe we're feeding the bad guys.
That's what I'm saying, man.
We're the power. And that's going back to our initial top of the top episode subject.
That's
here.
right.
We're in a trap. We're in a trap, but it's a trap that's meant to be to get us angry and to get us upset, so that we feed the power grid of the universe.
It could very well be. Now, when we start talking about entities that are outside of what we can physically see, I mean, who the hell knows? So,
Right.
I mean, maybe there are entities at play on that kind of stuff. I don't think, when we talk about devil and stuff like that, I don't think it's anything like that. But maybe there are universes, maybe there are beings that feed off that kind of thing. And maybe that, like I said, it takes more energy to be negative. There's more energy in negativity. So if they can generate more negativity, they can generate more energy.
But it still goes back to what I was saying earlier. That was what I mean. There is, even if we're right, I think there is a God who we all feel and believe he's benevolent. He created beautiful creation. Creation is usually, on average, pretty beautiful, right?
Sure.
You look at your standard creature on the earth, and you're like, oh, that's pretty, or it's cute, or whatever. I mean, there's some ugly ones too, but even still, the beauty in their own way. But yeah, then that's where I go. But there also seems to be this, even if it's like you're saying, interdimensional beings using us for power grids. That's what I'm saying. It's the negative force that wars upon humanity, and that is the curse that we live in on this planet, on this prison planet. There, without a doubt, seems to be something that goes after family and goes after good quality things that would seem obvious to us to do and less energy for us to do, but yet for some dumb reason we still fight and divorce our wives and murder our neighbor and steal from the place down the street. You know what I mean? We do bad things. We just do stupid and bad things. And I do think that it is a faction of something that wars upon humanity in that way to get something in return.
For sure. I mean, I think in this episode we've answered all questions. Well, yeah, I think, like you said, from the start of what we were talking about, and and then ending where we are, I think there might be some truth to what they're talking about with the reincarnation trap. I think it might be kind of a little twisted in the theory, but it sounds like maybe there is a purpose to have negativity on Earth, right? Like maybe it's to feed, maybe it's to keep something going. The more that they can keep us angry and and against each other, the more it powers something.
I'm sure that even if it were revealed to us what it was, we'd still go, what?
We'd still go, Trump's my guy. Trump is he's even more my guy than ever before.
I'm going to wear his gold diapers now.
Hell yeah.
People are wearing diapers now. Did you know that? Like there's some weird thing about diapers. I don't understand what's going on.
I don't know, man. And here's the thing: I think
that is a cult.
Well, yeah,
right
and even
there.
if you go, listen. If I started my own country or my own planet, and I could just have the people that thought like me on that, at some point somebody's not going to think like you, and they're going to do some stupid shit, and then there's going to be a faction, and then we're going to end up back where we are.
Right.
So there is no. I don't know, man. I don't see. I don't see humans with a reign of peace. I think spiritually, yes, 100%. But I think in this physical realm, I think this is part of the game. I think it's part of the game.
Yeah, I do. I think it's par for the course. Unfortunately, it's the thing that's just been built into the system. It's cursed.
It's cursed.
It has moments of spectacular beauty and awesome wonder, right?
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's why I don't think it's hell.
No, it's definitely not hell.
But it definitely is. There's something about it that, it's a test. There's
something about it.
It's been designed for a reason, and we'll find out one day.
We'll find out.
Or maybe we won't. I don't know. But, it's all very interesting. And I, for one, am very glad that on my my 80 years or whatever, however long I live, that I got to spend some of it with you two.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
And the rest of our listeners today.
Yeah, I agree.
Todd,
I agree.
Josh, you guys, I mean, this is great.
I love you guys. Well, I think that's a good place to
I'm
wrap
glad
it
we're
up.
here together.
I am too.
I'm glad we're here.
You know, Josh,
So
any
is the
final
white
words?
like a trick?
You want to show us a trick?
Oh, is the white light a trick or is it truth?
Oh, I thought you said, do you guys want to see a trick?
You know what, Josh? I'll say this. I don't think it matters either way. If you've picked wrong and you're reincarnated, then so what? Just do it again.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll learn better
I'm
the
gonna
next time.
reincarnate as you, Tim.
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Have two Tims.
Wow.
I don't think it's a trick. I think the white light is the afterlife. I mean, that doesn't mean that there is not an alternative, right? Like if
there might be an alternative.
If we're getting trapped in a grid, sure. I think the white light is a thing for real, but I think there might be a perception of a white light, like a fake white light. That might be the trap. I don't know how you know the difference.
One's a little more tungsten, you know.
That's exactly what it is. You're right. This is kind of this is too white. What is this? A 5,000? 5,000?
Yeah, don't you hate those? Like it's fluorescent or something.
Yeah,
like,
it's too
I'm
much.
not really this.
All right, I'm out. No, I'll go to the next light. All right, guys.
I want the real brilliant light. The one that looks so brilliant.
Yeah, the one that really makes everything white.
Really shiny.
Really
Not this
shiny.
Off one.
Guys, I love you.
Sounds good.
Glad we figured out some stuff.
Well, we
today.
figured it all out. So you guys
you're
go
welcome.
out and have a great week.
Yeah, definitely learned something.
Made it more confusing than ever.
All right. See you guys.
All right, love
See
y'all.
ya. Love y'all.
Created by human